أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم محمد وعلى عترة الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome to Real Talk. This week we have Dr. Shaina Yusuf Ghulamali with us. Assalamu alaikum, Shaina.
Alaikum salam, Masuma.
How are you?
I'm good, and you?
Alhamdulillah, thank you. If I can ask you to just introduce yourself to the viewers, please.
Okay, so my name is Dr. Shaina Yusuf and I am an emergency physician by profession. And recently I have been dealing with drug addicts, alcohol addicts, any substance abuse addicts for past 1 year plus.
When you say you've been dealing with them, is that in the emergency room or outside of the emergency room?
So no, past few years since I have become an emergency physician, I was dealing with them in the hospitals, in emergency rooms, outpatients. But recently, I've opened a rehab center where we cater for the drug addicts and we try to help them get over their addiction in various ways, including medical treatment and counseling and the programs that are available.
And you said you've opened this center. What made you decide to do that?
So honestly, the problem is huge, and the problem is huge not only in general public but also in our community. And
sorry, can I just stop you? Sorry. When you say in our community, are you talking about the Muslims, the Shias, the Khojas, and where are you based as well?
So I am in Dar es Salaam, and the problem is huge in Muslim community. I'm not only talking about Khoja community, and it's huge. It's just not being addressed. In general population, the problem is there definitely, but I never realized the problem is huge in the Muslim community, in our Khoja community, and it needs to be addressed. And when
So
I used to say,
sorry, I suppose as if you think about the fact that if we're the fact that we're Muslims, we believe in a God, and that should be enough. Then why would we need to turn to drugs or substance abuse or anything like that? The two don't go hand in hand, and that's probably why we feel like drug addiction cannot happen if you have Islam. And obviously you're saying no, that's not how it works.
True.
Is that correct?
If you see history, even during Prophet's time, even his ashabas were going through phases in life, and they would opt for things that are not legal or not Islamically, acceptable. But then there is always supposed to be a guide, somebody where some people can, go for guidance or ask for help. And in our part of the world, these things are not readily available, like the helplines, the free helplines or the centers where people can just walk in and get the help they need. So we don't unfortunately have those kind of help, where people can actually seek help from. Anonymous helplines are very helpful, I believe, in a lot of countries, but we do not have them here. So I really believe anybody can go astray. Anybody can slip into something that they don't know actually. And if you hear their stories, majority of them don't know what they are doing. By the time they do realize, they are far in the addiction and they cannot quit. And that's where we come in place. But our aim is not only taking care of those who are already addicted. Our aim is also helping those who are not yet addicted and can be helped not getting into the addiction. So for example,
education.
Yes, for example, posting in media is a very powerful tool, and a lot of youths are using media, from Instagram to Facebook to Twitter to LinkedIn, and this is one way of bringing the awareness, educating the population. If not the youths themselves, even the parents, who are a lot of times don't know, the loved ones don't know what their loved ones are going through, or are already addicted, because they don't know. So, what are the signs and the symptoms? How do you help them? What help is available, and what can they do from their side? They are basically in the darkness. They don't know if they can help. They are just tired by the time they realize that their loved one is in addiction. They are so much tired of that life. They are tired of how to help them. Some of them have become bankrupt. Some of them have health issues. Some of them also need help as family members, because addiction is not one person's problem. It is basically affecting the entire surrounding of that one person. So family, friends, workplaces, all these places and people get affected by that one person being an addict.
So what are the signs and symptoms as parents can we look out for, which would maybe alert us, so that we can actually have those conversations with our children? And what sort of conversations should we be having as well?
So first of all, I would want to say this is a very important thing, that instead of attacking and judging, the parents or the loved ones should, try and support. The words that you choose are very important. How you talk to that person is very important. If we get angry, or if we become abusive verbally or even physically, that's not going to help. Remember, these people are, some of them are in such a state that they really want to leave, but they can't, because their bodies are used to it. So they end up having withdrawals, or they feel depressed that, oh my God, I can't even live without this substance. So by getting angry at them, by reacting negatively, as it is the society is talking of, is not letting them into their society. There is so much stigma. By talking to them in a very positive way, by assisting, by giving them help, or showing that we can help them in one way or the other, makes a difference. So some signs, since you asked about the signs and the symptoms, some signs are common across all substance abuse, and some are very specific. So I'll talk about what are common in across all the substances. One of them is finances. So you will see that they always are in lack of funds. So if it is a youth who is getting pocket money, they always run out of it, and nobody knows where that money went. Where they
Hmm.
spent that money for. The other thing is appetite. A lot of drugs either make them eat more or eat less. Majority of them, uh, they eat less because they want to use that money for their substance. So you will see they have poor appetite, and even if they have been given food, they are not able to finish that portion. They are not eating well, and thus you will see weight loss in a lot of substances. The other
Okay.
thing is sleep disturbance. A lot of these drugs or alcohol are substances that are stimulants. So you will see that they are not able to sleep early, on time rather, and they are sleeping until late. And if they are sleeping until late, then other signs and symptoms will happen, that they will not be able to go to work on time, they will not be able to focus in school or at work. Then what will follow is they will come out of work or fall out of school.
So
If it
these
is performance, yes,
Sorry, these symptoms, these signs that you've actually mentioned, whether it's using their money too quickly, not having much money because they've used it, or whether it's lack of appetite or eating less, or whether it's not sleeping till really late, staying awake, and they're not being able to get up in the morning, and they sound very much like teenagers. There doesn't seem
yes.
to be much, it's like what you would normally associate with a normal teenager. So how again would a parent be able to tell this is normal teenage behavior, and this is something slightly different, and I need to dwell into it a little bit more deeper, just to make sure that there's nothing more in there?
So for those who are using illicit drugs, usually they will lose interest in what they usually had interest in. So if they were interested in sports, you will see slowly they are no longer interested in sports. They want to hang out with a specific group of people. or group of youngsters, or not with anybody, because they are scared that they will be discovered, or they
Mhm.
will hang out with that specific group of people where he knows that this secret will remain a secret, because they all hang out together and do stuff together. So
So
they
I
will
suppose
not
here
want
we're
to.
sorry. So here I suppose you're making sure you know what who your
Yes,
children's friends are.
yes.
Okay.
And their whereabouts. For example, if you are giving pocket money, I mean, it's okay if they've spent in food or buying a toy, or a gadget or a book. But if you don't know where they're spending the money, it's important as a parent to know,
Mm.
or to ask, where did you use this money? Okay, and it all starts from the beginning. If you let them go out there and buy stuff on their own, for example, if you let them go out and buy whatever they like as gadgets, for example, for teenagers, then when you question them, they will feel like, now my parents are interfering. Where is my freedom? I'm an adult now, but there are ways of doing this. Maybe you can tell them, you have this pocket money, we can go together and see what you like, and we can buy it together. But if it is not from before, it is very hard to instill these things later on, when they are already on their own.
So it's ensuring that as parents we're quite involved with our children's life, in our children's lives from a very early age, so that it continues into when they become a little bit older.
Definitely. And I see the difference, the generation gap, how we were brought up and how today's generation is. We never used to ask why or what, but right now all kids want to know why, what, how, when, and we should not react to that. Why did you ask me this question? We should
Mm.
be, we should lower ourselves and be in their, state of mind, and talk and discuss. We should be open for discussion. If we are not open from before for discussion, whether it is something that we like to talk about or not, then they are not going to be able to talk to us about it. So if we show them that, if you go out of this particular norm that we are used to, then it's unacceptable, and not even allowed to discuss these things, then they're not going to come and discuss with us.
Mm.
And I believe all schools have counselors. And I was hearing few of the lectures or the talks that the counselors were giving, and they were saying that they feel more comfortable with the counselors who they meet few hours, maybe a week or a month, but they are not comfortable with their own parents. And it's something that we should think about, that we are growing up with them, they are growing up around us, we are instilling these values in them, and they are not comfortable coming to talk to us. Why is it? We should ask ourselves. Maybe we are showing them or portraying that negativity, that I'm going to react or I'm going to judge you, while the counselors, even if they know something is wrong, but they do not show that they are judging. And it's okay as a parent to feel bad about what your child has done, which is not acceptable in your values, but only if you react positively, then you can help him. But if you react negatively, that, oh my God, how could you do that? Our son, from these values, from this background, what will I show? How will I show my face to my family? Then they are not going to come and tell you, even if it is something that is bothering them. And a lot of these youths go into substance abuse because they cannot share their emotion. So they keep it so much inside that they feel so bad, they don't know what to do about it. Then they end up using something to make them feel good. And every
So,
time then when they feel bad, they will go look for that thing to make them feel good. And
okay, so
slowly they get
if I
addicted.
just yeah, I just want to just sort of just recap everything, because you've said quite a lot of things there, and I think I just want to just make it clear in my head, and help the viewers to sort of remember all the things that you said. So it's having those open conversations with our children, so that they feel comfortable talking to about us, coming to us and talking about everything and anything.
Right.
Secondly, you said not to judge, and the fact that the counselors don't judge, but it's easier for the counselors not to judge because they're not emotionally invested. We are, as mothers, we're obviously emotionally invested in our children. So it would be very difficult not to judge, but maybe come across from the perspective of, I don't know. I was just thinking when you were talking, maybe if I had a conversation with my child and said to my child, look, if you know, you will make mistakes. We all make mistakes in our lives, but when you make a
Yes,
mistake, you know, if you come and tell me rather than me hearing it from someone else, or rather than you telling other people and trying to get help from other people who are not as invested in you, who don't love you as much as I do, who don't care about
yes,
you as much as I do, then you know, when you come to me, yes, of course I'll be disappointed, and yes, of course I'll be upset. But you know what will be at the forefront of my mind is how can I help you? And that's what
yes,
we've got to work with. And so it's sort of being
yes,
real and saying, you know, I will be upset. Yes, I will be. I'm human. I'm your mother. I am going to be upset when
yes,
something hurts you. Of course, it's going to hurt me. Um, but at the same time, I I love you more than anyone else in this world loves you. And I'm going to help you. I'm not going to abandon you. I'm not going to throw you aside. We'll work through it. Whatever mistake you make, whatever it is, whether it's drug abuse, you know, substance abuse, or even anything else that they do, anything that, as if they feel comfortable enough coming to me, then we can work through it. And I think it's opening up that door and making sure that they do know that they can come to me as a parent. Um, if they do something wrong. Is that what you're saying?
exactly, exactly. You put it very nicely, very clearly. And as you said, it's very true. It is not easy, not only for the mother, for any person who is emotionally attached to, not show emotions. But even I, at this stage, with the 1 year experience with directly with the, substance abuse people, I also still learn. Okay, so there are ways, as I said, there are positive tones, there are positive words that you can use instead of negative words, negative attitude, or punishing tone or a punishing statement. You understand? That way they can feel comfortable. But again, this has to start earlier on. If they are already deep into addiction, then they're not going to hear you or the counselor, because for them, in their mind frame, it's what is the right thing to do. I can't live without this and I'm doing it. I know they don't know. So they are okay, they can judge me because they don't know what I'm going through. But if the uh, positivity in our talks, or getting, from before, if we are closer to our kids, then it is easier for them to approach, even for us to approach. Even for us, if we
Brilliant.
come to
So
know that something is wrong, the way you're going to talk to, they're not going to even listen if from before you don't have that attachment.
yeah, brilliant. Okay, so I suppose we're looking at preventing rather than curing the addiction. So actually getting to a stage where we're trying to prevent the addiction. So having
Yes,
those, making sure we're having conversations with our children, making sure we're close with our children, so we know if there is a very big change in their moods, in their attitudes, and it's you know, it's not what would be considered as normal teenage hormonal change, but it would be something that's huge. You know, that you would actually think this isn't normal. And then even if even if you're not sure, maybe actually asking them straight out. Is that something that's advisable to actually ask them straight out, or would they be
so
defensive if you ask?
so a lot of parents ask me, is it okay to talk about drugs when we are not sure whether they are using or not? So the conversation can be as if the parent is a bit alarmed with the society using so much drugs, and what the kid or the youth thinks about it, what are his views, and then slowly you can see what are their views. Does the youth think it's okay to use, or because maybe they are using, or they feel like no, it's something really destructive at the end. Again, it comes to, if you start a conversation just by judging them or showing them that I know what you're doing, then they're not going to be able to open up. But if you say that maybe I heard my friend's daughter or son or younger sibling is, affected with drugs, and these are the problems that they are going through, and for me it was a very big shock. Do you really think is the problem is such big in our society, in our population? And you see where the conversation is going on. And a lot of times, since I was talking about youths, as you clearly said, that these are normal things that sometimes we see in teenagers, but now this is the age where they want to experiment.
Mm,
So a lot of these clients that we receive, they might be in their 40s, But the first time or the first few times they had started was when they were teenagers and they already knew what it did to them. So when they did have bigger problems and they didn't know who to go to, then they end up going to where they felt better. So it is an age for experimentation, not only for illicit drugs, but for a lot of things.
Okay. So what you're saying is that as youth they may have experimented but not got actually drawn into it, but
Yes,
then as adults they've gone back to it, remembering what it felt like and that sort of feeling of
yes,
letting go and not not having the burdens on their shoulders while they were high.
yes,
So wanting that feeling again, then getting addicted as adults. But I suppose even if they haven't experimented as youth, they can still get drawn into the drug culture as adults, right? I mean, it's not something
yes,
that's just implicitly only for youth. It's for every age and every
yes,
gender, right? Any gender as
yes.
well. Okay.
So addiction choose. It can affect any gender, any ethnicity, any level of education. It can affect anybody. Even religion does not. I know you from beginning you said that if it is the God's path, then how can you go for drugs and not for something, which is positive? But I have seen myself witnessed clients that are from very religious background. They've been exposed to a lot of religious, upbringing, but they, end up being in drugs. Again, it comes. I really think that everybody has different stresses in life, but then how you react to that stress is what support system you have around you really matters.
I suppose, and when you mentioned, I mean, when you mentioned that, you could have people coming from very religious backgrounds, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, if you're a child in a very religious family, then there are certain expectations that are
Yeah,
put on you. Like if you're a child who's born into a very, sort of, I don't know, a family where, everyone's a doctor. So again, there's a huge
reputable
lot of
family.
pressure put on you to do well, academically, or do well religiously, or do well sport wise, or do well, and those pressures probably then, if you feel that you're letting your family down, could be something that may actually pull you towards using drugs. Is that not correct?
Yes. So you're absolutely right. Some of them do feel that pressure that I'm expected, I'm from the doctor's family, so I'm expected to be a doctor, but I don't want to be a doctor. I want to be an engineer or I want to be an accountant. But who is going to understand me? That's frustration itself. It's a stressor that they feel that they cannot talk to anybody who can understand them. And again, it will come back down to how you talk to your youths. They have to feel comfortable to come and talk to you about anything. It's very hard for parents to do that because there are certain limitations in our cultures as well, that there are certain topics it's a no to talk to your parents about it. But then at least there should be a support system, closer cousins or older siblings who they can confide into and talk about how their feelings are, because a lot of them are emotionally traumatized. If you see, they don't have a place to take it out. They internalize it, and then they go use these illicit drugs that make them feel better, and temporarily forget about the problems. And then when they do remember or it hits in them again, they end up using it again. And slowly their bodies get used to it so much that they cannot have a normal life or a normal day until they use it.
I suppose I mean we've been talking a lot about us as parents and our children, but like you said, drugs can affect every anyone at all. So even in a relationship, I mean, like sort of with my spouse, or
Yes,
with my friends, if I am not there supporting them, and I'm the one who's putting more pressure on them and putting more stress. So, for example, if my as a wife, if I'm putting so much pressure on my husband that he feels like he can't talk to me and he doesn't have anyone else he can talk to, then I'm the one who's actually sort of pushing him toward
yes,
I'm not trying to blame anyone. I'm not trying to put the blame on
yes,
anyone,
yes,
but I'm just trying to look from a perspective of, as we are very much human beings who need each other. Yes, we have God, and obviously we need to have a relationship with God, but we also need each other. So
Yes.
whichever relationship we're in, whether it's with our parents, whether it's with our spouses, whether it's with our children, we need to make sure that we are behaving and talking and supporting that person, rather than
Right.
constantly putting them down and
Nagging.
making them feel useless. And I
Yeah.
think
So
that's
it's
what I'm getting from
similarly
you.
at work as well. So I have had a few clients who had extreme pressures at work, and they
Mm,
could not cope at work. So they would go and use a drug and feel good about it and come back and work, and forget that my boss was yelling at me half an hour ago. And similarly, as you said, a lot of them don't want to go back to home because there is a nagging partner at home. And so afterwards, friends. Some friends use different kind of drugs or alcohol, and they get pulled in it to the point
mm,
that some people don't go back home from club. They go straight to work again next day. Yeah. So uh, again, it's a support system everywhere. Somewhere somebody has to have that support system, and we all are very different personalities. Some of us are very open. We like to be vocal and express our feelings, but some of them are not like that, who internalize everything, and it reaches a point where they need to they need to feel better, or they are going to go crazy. And that is why a lot of these substance abuse are related or linked to depression and some other mental health issues, because that is one of the branches that is affecting these kind of people who into the addiction.
I suppose here I'm thinking from my perspective. It's like I'm someone who probably would never think of actually ever using drugs, or even smoking or anything like that. But maybe again, I don't know, because I've not been put in a situation where I would feel the need to. Alhamdulillah, up to now. But I could even, I could be sitting there thinking, okay, I may not use it, but how am I helping or pushing someone else into feeling that they can't come to me and ask for help from me? So maybe the reflection for me would be, am I supporting the people around me? Am I positive with the people around me, or am I so negative and so soul destructing to the other people around me that they feel like they can't talk to me, and they need a way out rather than coming towards me?
Right.
I don't know. Am I making sense?
Yes, definitely, and it's true in every aspect of our lives. As a mother, as a wife, as a boss, as a colleague, are you a repelling person? Are you a person people are drawn to and easily
Yeah,
talking to? And how are you? Are you a good listener, or you just like to talk? All these things matter. And
yeah,
what is worse is the way these things are stigmatized. First of all, is the approach that even if it is a normal problem, are you an approachable person? But then the
yeah,
second bit of it is about stigma. These things are a big no-no in a lot of communities, a lot of population, a lot of societies. And to come and talk about, to approach somebody and tell them I'm using drugs, they are scared to be judged because
yeah,
this is the norm. Everybody has been judging them. And as I said, there reaches a time where they really want to stop. It's not they don't want to, but the side effects, the withdrawals of not using these drugs are so severe that they end up, their emotions of wanting to stop is overwhelmed by the physical experiences that they're having for the withdrawal, and they end up using it. Some of them even cry while using it because they don't want to use it, but they know if they don't use it, they're going to die, or they're going to be so sick that they won't be able to function, and everybody will know, and everybody will judge them. So
and it's
even
not just
actually,
sorry, it's
sorry,
not just them that are going to be judged, right? It's going to be the whole family, because it's like if my
yes,
child
yes,
is on drugs, or if my husband's on drugs, then it's not just going to be him or her that's going to
yes,
be judged, it's the whole family. It's
yes,
like there must be something wrong with the family. That's why that person went down that route.
yes, yes, definitely. What is worse is even when these guys get clean out of the rehab and want to go out there, for them to go back in the society is so hard. Nobody wants to give them a job. Nobody wants to give them any responsibility. Nobody wants to even associate with them in any work. Even if they want to do volunteering work, people don't want. because of their history, because of they're scared that they don't believe, first of all, that somebody can live without drugs and there's something called recovery. They don't believe that. They think that once somebody is in drugs, that's it. Of course there are relapses, but then again the reasons for relapse are similar, of them going back to drugs. Similar experiences they experience again, and they feel like I might as well go back to using it. If I'm clean, people are reacting like this. When I'm using, people are reacting like that. I might as well go and use it again. Yeah. So it's a lot of, again, positivity that comes out of your personality as a person, as a parent. Again, for parents, I can only imagine what they go through. Yeah, it's very difficult as a parent. But again, as I told you, even I learn how to talk to them by watching different programs, by watching different there are people who are actually specialized in these things. Their talks are online. I Google, I YouTube search how to talk to youths about, how to even bring up these topics, because you might end up talking to a youth who is not using, and after knowing what it does might want to go and experiment.
Oh,
It's
wow.
very hard. Yeah. So there are lines to draw, there are ways of talking. As I said, you can put a situation in front of them and then want their views. They also want to feel important. They feel like, wow, my mom or my dad wants to know what are my views about this problem, and what
Mm,
I think, what would I do if I knew a friend who was using, how would I help. Yeah. Another thing is, a lot of people even wanting to ask for help, because it is stigmatizing for parents, for example, if they're not sure. How are parents going to be sure whether their kids are using or not? What are they supposed to do? What are they supposed to know about using and not using? Yeah. And
mm,
even if they are, let's say they find out they're using, how to get help. Not all cases need rehab. If the
mm.
early phases of addiction, counseling and support, because there is enabling of an addict and there is supporting of an addict. Enabling means you are going to let him use because emotionally it is overwhelming for you as a loved one, whether it is a parent or a partner. But supporting means you want to stop them using, but showing them that you care. That is why. So there are different, there are different support systems that are available. We are also available online. We do free consultation because there are no helplines here. So they don't know where to get help. By the time they actually do decide to open up and ask for help, the problem is very deep.
So someone's actually asked on here, they're saying, Salaam alaikum. In your clinic, do you find drug abuse to be mostly a male or a female orientated problem, or equally an issue for both genders? And in either case, why?
All right, so we have a male rehab first, because the ratio worldwide, the ratio is 2 to 1, male being two and females being one. And I always ask myself why, but I believe because females are very emotional. They end up talking and crying and looking for a shoulder to, look for support, while men are actually not allowed to show their emotions, unfortunately. This is worldwide. Men are not allowed to cry. Men are supposed to be strong. But they have emotions too. So I
So they
believe
bottle it all
men,
up.
yes, so men to women ratio is 2 to 1. So
Okay.
we have only male rehab at the moment, but we do have free counseling sessions or consultations over the phone, or we can direct them to rehabs that are for females, and they can get the help they need.
So you said you were based in Dar es Salaam. I'm just coming from London, UK. I'm just trying to think that the stigma that you keep talking about must be so much more in Dar es Salaam than it is in London. How are you coping with that? And what was the view of, friends and family when you decided to open up this rehab center?
It was very emotional because my husband is very open minded. Alhamdulillah, he said, "Are you sure you want to do this? You are a woman, and drug addicts and addicts, as in addicts, are not easy to handle. Are you sure you're going to be able to handle this?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to try. I want to give my best. If I can't, then I will, ask for help." or I'll close down, but I want to do this. And so as my parents, my dad, he was like, it's not going to be easy. These guys are crazy. They can attack you. They can, they have also mental health issues. Are you really sure you want to do this? And when I said yes, they were all very supportive. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. A lot of other societies were really surprised. Me being a woman, I want to open a male rehab center, and how am I going to manage this? But I personally never found, even during before planning or during planning, I never found that I probably won't be able to do it. And I feel that a woman's touch in my rehab is something very, very unique and very positive, because they look at me like their mothers. So in all other rehabs, a lot of rehabs here, or sober houses we call them, there is just a manager who is their gender manager, and they are very strict, and there is there is no motherly touch. So, for example, food, I will maybe go an extra mile and make, carrot no atano and take it for them so that they feel the spice a bit, or maybe go out of my way and bring them different type of fruits to make them feel at home. So we try to make it a very home environment, because again, they are away from home, they are away from family, and once they go through medical detox, their emotions starts coming up, and they need this. So
So
Alhamdulillah.
why
So
why not? I mean, there are other rehab centers there that you could have gone and worked with, or why did you decide to open up your own?
okay, a very good question. Thank you, Masuma. So we have a lot of sober houses here in Tanzania and in Dar, especially in Dar. There are a lot of sober houses. We call them sober houses because they don't have a strategic plan to do things. They're quite different than how a rehab center is. So there are a lot of people in one small house. It's not like a syllabus, or things are not done for them. For example, cooking, cleaning, laundry, everything they do themselves. Here we try to make it very different, so that they can feel again like home, not like prison, not where they are brought so that they get punished. They are brought here so that we can help them together with themselves to, go back on track. So it's a very home environment. We have a garden, we have a farm where they can farm with us if they wish. There's a little gym if they wish. We don't push them to do certain things. There are compulsory things like attending sessions, which are compulsory, but we try to keep it very home environment. So I was the first one in the country to open, and I believe there are others who are following, but it was like an ideal setup, which is not like other houses.
So I suppose you're looking at the addiction as an illness rather than as a choice which they did where they're going to be punished for because it's something that they did which was
Absolutely,
wrong.
absolutely. Addiction is a disorder. It's not something somebody wishes to have. Maybe they did try to experiment something, and into the experiment they went into the addiction, but it is not. It is not a normal thing where somebody can just come out of it. It's just like normal other diseases. I always give example of the diabetes. People have diabetes, they have to follow rules, they have to have medication, they have to have a different set of lifestyle in order to control diabetes. If you follow the rules, if you take the medication, if you follow the diet, the diabetes is going to be, in its normal range. But if you don't follow all these things, the sugar levels are not going to be in the normal range. Of course, there are ups and downs. Maybe there is a stress in the family, or something happens, infection happens, and your sugar rises. Similarly to the addiction, there are events that can happen. You can lose a loved one, a parent, a child, a partner, or work issues, work stress. And again, you might feel like, oh my God, overwhelmed, and I want to go back to what was giving me the ease, the peace that I used to get. But if you have the enough support system, who that is where we also do different things in rehab. We do family therapy. whereby
Mm.
we tell them if you see something that is out of the norm, if you see a stressor like a death in the family or work pressure, then you have to alert us so that we can do from our side, we can pull him up, you know. So it's absolutely you're right. It's like a disorder. It's not something somebody wants to be, you know. We
I
need to
suppose
give them a chance.
I love the example that you gave of diabetes, especially if it's secondary diabetes, because obviously it's not something you're born with, and it's
Yes,
because of our indulgences in eating too much sugar or overeating and so
yes,
forth that we've actually done this to ourselves. But no one actually looks at someone who's got diabetes and says, "Oh my God, you're so bad," and it's
diabetes.
like you deserve it, and and no one judges that person. So
Yes,
although it is our own fault that to a certain extent that we got it because of our bad eating habits and the choices that we made, which were detrimental to ourselves without meaning to be detrimental to ourselves. And I suppose it's the same sort
absolutely.
of principle. So it's a beautiful example you've given. How do you rate your success in your clinic?
So Alhamdulillah, we majority of our boys, I would say 85% of our boys who have come out have not relapsed. That is number
Oh,
one. Number two, they like coming back. So if it was a place where they felt like, oh my God, it was a torture, they would never feel like coming back. They like coming back. They come spend a day. Some of them spend 2 days. Some of them will call you back. Maybe remember them in their happy days. Maybe if they are getting married or if they got a job, they'll call you and remember you. And that for me is a success. You know,
so they don't
they
relapse
feel
in
like
order to
it is
come back.
home. Yes. So they feel like it is home and they want to come back. They want to be associated with where they came from. Always they like my posts, they follow my page, and for me that is good because that means they are on track. At least they are around, you know, they are happy with what they are seeing, what they felt when they left. They weren't tortured, you know. So for me, that is success. And if I can turn around couple of, if not one, life, that will mean a lot to me.
How many people do you have in your clinic? I mean, what's the sort of
At the moment, four. But over the year, we have seen and released 20 youths, 20
wow,
people.
that's amazing. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Have you had any negative sort of retaliation or negative press or anything that you've had negativity that you've had to sort of put up with by opening up this rehab center?
Yes, yes. One of them is people cannot afford and I have to run this place. So as I told you, everything is done for them. I need to pay salaries. So a lot the people who cannot afford, I approach their direct community. So if it is Jamaat, then I approach their Jamaats. If it is not belonging to any Jamaats, we try to fundraise for them. Once we have sufficient funds, we can take them for free so that they don't have to worry about the funds. That is one. Two, but there are so many out there who cannot afford it. Two, it's family. See, somebody who has been addicted for 20 years, you cannot expect me to make an impact in 1 or 2 months. It's going to take a while. Just them to learn to trust somebody, share their feelings and emotions, take a very good few months. You understand? So until
Mm,
they end up talking about their addiction and how bad it was, and understanding their addiction and getting over it and grasping the program that we use at our rehab, it's going to take a while. So we
mm,
usually tell them minimum 90 days in house they have to stay, and so everybody has that in their mind that 90 days, then my son is going to come out. And then he is going to be clean, like he will forget what was his past. It doesn't work that way. It's very hard. And that is why we make such an environment where they can feel like coming back. The day they feel like they are craving for it, they know who to call. You see, we also try and keep a lot of quite a number of close family members in the loop during family counseling, the near ones, of course, the parent or the sibling or the partner or a
mm,
child. And we try and explain them that this is not abracadabra. It's going to take a while until they learn to live with the new reformed lifestyle. So just like
mm,
diabetes, it's very hard for a new diabetic patient to reform their life and go for exercise and eat less and eat healthy and more veggies and less carb. But with time, when they get used to it, it's normal for them, and then they
Mm,
don't find it hard. But it takes a while until they get used to it, and that support system even at home should be there. Yeah, so if
mm,
the husband is diabetic and the wife keeps on cooking sweet things, it's not going to work. Yeah, so there has
yeah.
to be a support system even for the addicts, that the mother should act this way when the son is out, not this way, or the partner or the sibling, not to
Mm.
judge them the way they used to judge them. Give them that chance to show their trust again. All these things, small, 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 small things, but they really matter. So this is a major, major impact that I'm feeling. That why why parents are not understanding me. But then what I see and what I hear is not what they do, and that is why we really try to involve the family. Sometimes it is very hard to involve them because they are not reciprocating the willingness to be part of it. But then all we can do is try. So we try to involve the family to build a support system so that when this youth or this person that goes out there doesn't find himself suddenly stranded where he came out from a good solid support system.
You also mentioned that you had a phone in line that people could contact you through.
So it's my personal line at the moment. So, and people can call me anonymously. We have email, our rehab email, where they can email us anonymously. Recently, I've seen that youth are using it to not to consult, but to get information on what
Right.
kind of work we do, and what do we cater for, and how bad is a particular drug, what are the side effects, long term and short term. More of youths are doing that. So it can be anonymous, absolutely. And if you don't wish to say your name, or so that we don't follow you up, that is fine. But we are trying. It's very hard to have a 24-hour hotline at the moment, but that is the long term plan, that we can have hotline which is 24/7 and people can call any time of the day.
Inshallah, we pray that you're able to manage to do that. The name of your center, I don't think you've mentioned the name of your center up to now. The
Our
clinic,
center's name is the Awaited Rehab Center.
the awaited rehab center,
Right.
like the awaited imam that we're waiting for.
Yes, absolutely.
No.
So, Alhamdulillah, when I did think about this, I was constantly thinking, how can I make my Imam happy? How can I make the youths that are waiting for Imam to wait in a positive way? Not by using drugs, by getting them clean. So
That's
that
beautiful.
was one of the reasons that the name is there for Imam.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm sure most of the viewers will not forget that name, the Awaited Rehab Center in Dar es Salaam. Amazing. We're actually coming to the end of our talk. Before we finish, I usually ask my guests to give three pieces of advice to the viewers from their life experiences, from what they've been through and what they've learned, and maybe if you'd like to share that with us, just three pieces of advice, please.
They are going to talk, or I'm going to give them.
No, you're going
My
to give us the advice.
All right, so I'm going to give you a few advice. I want first of all to say, don't judge. It can happen to anybody. It doesn't matter what age, it doesn't matter what ethnicity, it doesn't matter what gender. A lot of people judge by saying, "Ah, a girl is smoking weed," but yes, it can happen to anybody. Uh, so do not judge. Be positive. Be responsive towards somebody who is seeking for help. Second thing I would like to say, that we should
Can I just
learn.
sorry, just
Yes,
to emphasize the point, because I think this is a really important point. We always constantly say not to judge, and we tell people not to judge. But again, I think, like, the saying goes, unless you've walked in their shoes, you really don't know what they're going through. And I remember when I was working as a prison chaplain and talking to the women there, and I remember actually sitting there thinking, if I had been living that woman's life, what's to say that I wouldn't have made the same choices and ended up in prison like she has? Because it's really easy, when you've got to, a normal life with everything going well, and it's really easy to think, oh God, how, why would you need drugs? What's wrong with you? You're so weak and things. But you really don't know what the other person's going through in their life, and outside
Absolutely.
everything may look fine and wonderful, but we don't know what's going on in their life. So this is really, really important, not just with drugs, but with anything. I think we know, as human beings, we need not to judge others, because we really are not walking
Don't
in their
know.
shoes. Yeah, we
Definitely,
don't.
definitely. And honestly, there are so many motivational videos out there. When you hear their stories, it's mind-boggling. It's not easy what a lot of them have gone through. It's not easy. So if they did end up going into drugs, my second advice is here is, if you cannot help, don't do harm. Don't say bad things to them. Don't say negative things to them if you can't say positive things to them. If you cannot help, do not do harm. Don't hurt them more. Don't hurt them further. Third thing, there is help out there in every country, in every city. If not in your city, in nearby city. If you think your loved one needs help, seek help. Try to find out where are the nearby places where you can help. In what ways you as a person can help if you want to help them. If you don't know how to, contact us. We will tell you how to help them. If they are around us, we will go and look for them. We will try and see if we can help them in any way we can. I try and put a lot of literature out there. Every day I post something or the other, except past 2 days. I've been only posting about our show. Try and learn before you try and react negatively. Even if it is parents who are worried about their teenagers, maybe they don't know their friend circle very well, and they want to know more about their friend circle, or if they are using, even if it is a normal cigarette. There are ways of learning how to talk to your youth. If you don't know, there is so much out there that you can learn, and by learning you can not only help yourself, but you can help people around yourself.
When you say there's so much out there, you're literally just talking about just Googling it, right? Just actually just sitting with your laptop and just putting into Google, how do I bring up this
Yes,
conversation
yes,
with my
and
child? Or
so I use a lot of YouTube where different counselors are teaching us how to talk to, for example, a teenager. If you want to talk to your teenager and find out what are his views about drugs, or if you're worried, is he using, is not using, how do you bring up this conversation? As I told you earlier, that you can talk about hearing a story about somebody, a friend's a child who was affected by drugs. What do you think about it? So you think there's something that we can do in the society? That way, slowly you'll come to know what are their views about drugs. Are they
actually just
using? If they
asking
are
them,
using,
I suppose
sorry.
they're just asking them. I suppose I would just ask my child, if you ever, got into, something like, drugs or something, would you feel comfortable coming and telling me about it, or talking to me, or discussing it with me, and actually just seeing what their reaction to that is? Because you're asking
Yes,
them straight out. So you're not
absolutely.
judging them. You're not asking them if
Yes,
they're wrong. You're saying, if you were, would you feel comfortable talking to me? And if not,
yes.
why not? What can I change in that? How can I make it that, you would feel comfortable talking to me?
Absolutely. That way, you will also know it's not only about drugs, it is about how you
Anything.
react to different situations. And you can learn how to, maneuver around that, and maybe, even involve them. People are scared to even come to rehab centers. But recently, Alhamdulillah, people have been coming with their kids. I take my son, a 5-year-old, to my rehab whenever I can. And, they always ask me, taking your child there? There's no drugs there. He comes to, and my clients love him, because there is therapy even in child laughter. And he, plays with water, he with a fountain, and he will clean my car with them, and he will water the plants. So he's learning, but they are also enjoying the company of a child. Remember, they are out of home, so they miss that home environment. And as I said, it's important that we make that environment a bit homey, so that they feel that, there is, I could have this life, you know.
Yeah, no,
So
for sure. No, that's brilliant. Someone's actually asked here, how many cases would there be in our Khoja community in Dar es Salaam? And if you can provide us a breakdown by gender, would
okay,
you?
so I only deal with male, as I earlier had said. I don't have specific numbers because I haven't done a survey of knowing how many are out there. I wish I could, but I would say more than 50% of my clients, of 20 clients that I saw and released this year, were Koja.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's quite high then, because if you're looking at only 20 and 50% of them were Kojas, then that shows that it is quite within the Koja community.
And it might be because of the environment or the way we have kept it as a homey environment, or people who can afford. But I would say the problem is huge. I'm not talking only about Koja. The problem is huge, but maybe those who could afford were mostly Koja. And again, our rehab is very new, so the
Mm,
word is still spreading along the normal population. But of course, in Koja community, they come to know faster because of our circle.
mm.
My inner circle mostly are Koja, so the word spread faster in Koja community, while the bigger society out there still doesn't know.
Do you feel that because you're a Koji and you're running a center, it's like if a Koja is addicted to drugs, they wouldn't want to go to a center where
Yes,
Kojas are working, because then the other Kojas will find out, and therefore then do you
yes,
find that as well?
yes, that has happened as well. That I found out about a boy he was using, and when I approached the family, they said, "No, no, 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 you must be mistaken. It's not true." So even when telling them that, okay, can I provide you some information that can help your child? But why do we need the information when I'm telling you, I'm confirming that my son doesn't use? While it was a known case. But
Mhm.
again, they don't have to come to me. Help is out there. That is
Yeah.
what is the main important thing. Let's get this thing sorted, because if we don't talk about it right now, trying to prevent it, going to schools and preventing it, talking about it in madrasa, in schools, or in the mosque, there's nothing wrong about talking about it, then the problem will become bigger in decade or so.
Okay. So before we finish off, some of the advice that you've given us, one is not to judge in any situation. Forget about it just being drugs, but in any situation, not to be judged. Second was if you can't help, then don't harm. And I think, again, that's in any situation. I think, a lot of the times people will say things without realizing the impact of those words. And a lot of times we'll say something that can be quite hurtful. And if we just took a few seconds to think about those words before we said them, then, we would cause a lot less harm to other people. The third one, sorry, I can't remember, what was the last advice that you gave? I'm just trying to
Seek
recall
help.
it.
Help is
Seek help.
around.
Yes. Seek help. And again, like you said, it doesn't matter where you go, but I'm sure it must help to be um, in a center where your not only your religion is understood, but your culture is understood as well when you're trying to get help, because that does a lot of a lot of the pressures that we feel is because of our upbringing, from our culture, from our religion, and all of these things do cause stresses on us as well, and the way we view them. And so a lot of the times, to break those stresses or to break those pressures and to sort of make us think of those in a different way, we need to have
Yes,
someone who understands the culture and the religion that we come from.
yes, and when I did have many Koja boys, it was Muharram, so we used to take them to mosque during those
Wow.
10 days. We took them for urban. We took them for the procession as well.
Wow.
We also tried to have Jama'ah namaz in our center, just to have that feel and to bring them back into the religion. And Alhamdulillah, majority of them, it's not that they don't believe in God, they
Yeah.
do, but in one way or the other, they had a bad company or they slipped away, and our job is to pull them back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it does make a difference, definitely.
Not give up on them, like God doesn't give up on us, so we shouldn't give up on
Yes,
others.
definitely.
Inshallah. Inshallah. It's been absolutely amazing talking to you, Dr. Shaina. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences, and thank you so much for caring enough about our community to open up a rehab center. I think that's amazing, the work that you're doing. Inshallah, God
Thank
give you lots of blessings for that, and guidance through that. And inshallah, you're able to open up the 24/7 call line that you're hoping to open up, inshallah. Again,
you.
those of you who didn't hear, the center, the clinic is called the Awaited, after our 12th Imam, the Awaited Rehab Center, and it's based in Dar es Salaam. Please Google it. Please, look at it in social media, like it, get connected. And like Dr. Shaina says, she does post lots of information there. So again, please look it up, and inshallah, we can all gain a little bit of knowledge, and sort of start talking about these taboo subjects, inshallah. Thank you so much. Thank you for the viewers for listening once again to Real Talk. Inshallah, we will take a break now, because next Sunday is Easter, and then the Sunday after that is the last weekend before my Ramadan. So I'm sure everyone will be very busy trying to get prepared for my Ramadan. So we'll take a break till after my Ramadan. And again, for anyone who's interested in being a guest on Real Talk, please get in touch with myself, Masuma Jaffer, on masuma@jaffer.org. And for anyone who knows anyone who's quite inspirational, and you would think they would make an amazing guest, please get in touch, and I will then contact them and ask them to be a guest. So thank you very much for watching, and inshallah, please remember each other in the holy month of Shaban and my Ramadan, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Thank you. Masalama.